I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
I am. I'm as well. I was pretty mad yesterday for obvious reasons. I think probably a lot of us were a little bit upset about the current state of affairs in this country. But I thought let's calm down. Let's let things take their course, and we'll see where everything comes out. Of course, I've got opinions. You've got opinions, but you've heard them all before. We're all probably pretty much well versed on the near tragic. Well, I guess it was tragic because one person was killed. Tragic events of yesterday. Here we are, living in history, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm not gonna. I'm not going to go into it because I know some of you come here to escape this stuff. So I'm going to provide that escapism for you today. It's a scorcher, folks, and getting a little warm up here in the old studio. But living in Oregon where it rains 90% of the time, I'm not going to complain when it's warm out. So there you go. It's just me solo. Shelly almost made it today, but then she was like, nah. Wasn't quite ready for it. We had a big day on Friday. We were asked by our son and daughter-in-law to come and babysit for 9 hours while they went to a wedding and had a good time and everything. So it was like the good old days, except the good old days started when I was in my 30s and now I'm 60. So those good old days were a little bit harder on the joints, but I carried that kid around and we had a good time, and we didn't drop him. There was no any serious things that went wrong. So it was kind of like riding a bike, So we had a good time, and Shelly's still sort of recovering from that 9 hours of our grandson, but it was good fun, and we were glad. Excuse me while I scratch my eye. We were glad to get the opportunity, to do that. So anyway, here we are, July 14th. Oh my gosh, I can't believe how fast this year is going by. I've been desperately trying to buy a comic book all week, but the values keep dropping on these things, and I'm afraid to buy until I feel like the market sort of bottomed out and is starting to move back up again. Because I bought a few books, not huge purchases, but $5 or $6 5 or 6 books over the last couple of years, and I've lost some money on them. And being the savvy investor that I try to be, it kind of ticks me off. So I'm trying to be a little bit more judicious about what I buy and when I buy it and how much I pay and all that kind of stuff. So I may not get another book till actually San Diego, which is really only a week and a half away now. So why not just wait for San Diego? And maybe I'll run into a couple of desperate dealers and will serve me up the book that I desperately want. And I mean, I don't even know exactly which one that is, but we'll figure it out. Anyway, so welcome everybody. Let's see what fun's going on in the chat. Coram says, love these obscure names you bring up. Of course, he's talking about James Montgomery Flagg. And he says to the Google. And he says, wow, he did the Uncle Sam you posted. Laugh out loud. I knew that. Mm-hmm. Creative Phase making some excuses here. Says, I might be a little late to the stream. It sounds like interesting topics. Aaron, have you thought of adapting your Man-Thing story for your Mossy Man character? It would be nice to see him again. Of course, she's referring to the Mossy Man story that's in the Garbage Man Trade paperback. Kind of my little ode to Man-Thing / Swamp Thing. Leg Kick is here because Leg Kick is almost nearly always here. And Halder 6480 is joining us. Barbara Paulson, hail Aaron and Shelley. What's the snack today? You'll find out in just mere moments, Barbara. So I know you're on the edge of your seat. Repairman Jack says, ahoy, La Presti. I'm here to not hear more about Trump. Well, I've already done my little Trump monologue, and I'm done with it. So we will move on because, quite frankly, I don't know any more than you guys do. And I probably share about the same opinions you do all do on it as well. So Stealth X5 is here. Sean Willits, he says, we'll definitely be watching. That is good to hear, Sean. Thank you. Bill Maxwell's joining us. Spaceman says, hail Lopez and Shelley. I'll pass that on to her. Bretsky the Great is joining us. Caleb Reynolds, Dramares, I know who that is. Now here's a man who helped to reap fields in Virginia, he says. Marcus Killigrew, a purveyor of all things pop culture knowledge, is joining us. Citizen Ronan, of course, quite a good painter in his own right. If you're not following Citizen Ronan on Twitter, you should. He posts a lot of artwork, and same with on Instagram as well. Toshiro is here. Nomadaman. Fox Mulder's joining us. Fox is going, when is Aaron going to post original artwork? Such an excellent question. I might discuss that actually a little bit. Let me put a note here. Okay. Original art sale? Question mark. All right, we'll get to that. Let's see what have we got. J Dredd is here. I think that's short for Judge Dredd. GJ Martinez. Good afternoon, evening, Aaron, Low Presty man. It is good to see you after a horrendous weekend I had due to barrel. I don't know what that means. Due to barrel. That's not the shooter's name, is it? No, I don't remember. Okay, Spambot's here says good morning. Is it? Is it good morning? I think we're in the afternoon, aren't we? Let's see. Spaceman says, love that Wild Wild West opening. You know, they only did that for the first season, and then they took out they changed it so the guy was not punching the girl anymore. So, because apparently somebody maybe have complained about that. I can't imagine. Let's see here. But hey, some chick's going to knife you in the back. You got to do what you got to do. Sean Willits, $4.99. Thank you very much. Says, I found issue 17 of your CrossGen book Sojourn at the comic shop today. Excited to read it. Well, thanks, Sean. I appreciate that. That is the only issue that I did of Sojourn. What happened was I had got hired by CrossGen, and I was hired specifically to take over Mystic. And as often happens, like when I got hired at DC to take over Wonder Woman, I wasn't quite ready for me to take it over yet. So I did at DC, I did a fill-in of Legion, and then I took over Wonder Woman. And at CrossGen, I did a fill-in on Sojourn, and then took over Mystic. So that is the one issue that I did. Let's see. Ryo Stu is here. Geek Avenger, tweet all your cat pics to Gary. Spaceman says 60. Welcome to the club, Aaron. Yeah, we skew a little bit older on this channel, don't we? Aaron, you should have a paid membership to your channel. Would love some cool Wraith icons and emojis. You know, I should do that, and I don't know how, but I know it's not that hard. I just haven't had time to get around to do it. You know, there's guys that are professional YouTubers and part-time comic creators. I am a full-time comic creator and a part-time YouTuber, and that doesn't add up. So I have very little time. I put most of my focus in the creative side and not as much focus as I probably should on the YouTube side. So maybe eventually. I'm just thankful that I've got my website up and running and has its store. The store is now open because I've been getting orders, and that's a good thing. You know, when you open up a store and you're paying money to have that store open, it's really nice if someone actually buys something in the store. So that's actually going pretty well. But it took me forever to get that up. So eventually, you know, Shelley and I talk about, oh, should we do something on, you know, is it Patreon? Yeah, Patreon, or, you know, do a subscription thing on the channel. And it scares me to do something, to add something that I'm going to be obligated to do every month because my schedule is so wacky. I mean, I just never know. And, you know what my availability is going to be from time to time. But it's like if I'm producing a certain amount of stuff for subscribers only, that's got to be a regular thing. And I'll tell you, man, producing a book with all the stuff that goes with it in the campaign is a lot of work. And as much as I'd like to do more than I'm doing, it's like I just don't have time. So I'm just trying to figure out ways to better manage my time so that I can actually do more stuff. But we'll see. You know, I'm a young 60, so we shall see what happens. Spaceman says, my Nexus Scourge came this week. Looks amazing. I haven't got mine yet, but I'm looking forward to it. I do have my John Malin Godlike and my that other book that Shane Davis did. I'm horrible. Anyway, I've got those sitting up there, and Glorious Rex too. I'm sorry, Shane. And I haven't read those yet. So books are piling up. They're piling up on me. I'm not much of a relaxer. I'm a worker. I'm not a relaxer. So finding that time to read that stuff is challenging. Let's see here. Victor says, get the original Spider-Man at Pawn Stars in Vegas for $750,000. Are we saying, I assume you're talking about Amazing Fantasy number 15? That book is not that hard to find. What's hard to find is the money to buy it with. Thank you. Thank you very much. Major Corn Dog is here. Hellboy Hendricks is here. Sup, Aaron? Sup, Hellboy? Let's see here. Who else we got? Headless Bourgeoisie is joining us. Let's see. Creative Faye is still here, even though she said she'd be late. Oh, Victor says barrel is a disease. Oh, I'm sorry, GJ, to hear that, but hopefully you're feeling better. Sean Willis is like, wow, I didn't know it was your only issue. What a find. Indeed. Stealth $2 says, hello. Thank you, Stealth. Appreciate it very much. Moromi is joining us. Victor's giving me all the details of barrel now. Well, I'll know next time someone says that. Spaceman for $1.99 says, Sunday stream makes my weekends. Thank you so much, Spaceman. I appreciate that. GJ, he's got here. Victor, you got your power back today. Oh, these are guys in Texas. You guys have been dealing with the storms and everything. Beryl. Okay, Beryl is the hurricane. Gee, many Christmas. You guys are filling me with so much BS. Why do I listen to you, Victor? Why? Okay, that was the name of the hurricane. All right. Well, I'm not down there. I don't know. And I never watch the news anymore for obvious reasons. So sometimes I'm not really in touch with what's going on. Cole King, good to see you, brother. It's been a wild weekend. Indeed, it has. Waylon Todd. Making fun of the chat. That's not very nice. Daniel Russell. Hey, everyone. $2 from the Geek says, so my name is stuck this way for 4 more days. I think you should keep it. I like it. I don't know if Gary does, but okay. Headless Bourgeoisie. You were the guy. Okay. It's so funny because you guys, I see your names come up, your real names when you order something or maybe at a con or whatever. And then it's like, I don't, make the association of what your avatar name is. The web store is nice. I ordered Garbage Man a couple of weeks ago. It's a great read. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. L.E. the Skibibity Rizzler is here. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Patreon becomes a second job for Patreon. I got about 3 jobs right now. I don't need another one. Let's see here. Kellraiser's joining us. Kellraiser, there he goes. You start a subscription. You contribute a lot each month. Well, thank you, sir. I try to. Headless Bourgeoisie says, I'm an old 50, so I'm a young 60 and you're an old 50. All right. Let's see here. Who else we got? Prater7 is joining us. Let's see here. We roll all the way down the Bob in KC. Does that mean, Kansas City? Bob in Kansas City. I've been to Kansas City. I've been to Kansas City, Kansas, and I've been to Kansas City, Missouri. Geek Avenger, tweet all of your cat pics to Gary for $5. He says, we appreciate your stream because it's entertaining, family friendly, and no stoned or drunk streaming. It's got some class and dignity. Well, thank you very much for that. I am the epitome of class and dignity. Sand and Metals joining us, says he's still messed up from yesterday. And Paul Taylor, all the way from Canada, says, hail and good evening. Thank you for joining us, Paul. Where's the rest of our Canadian group? Where's Randy Howell at? I haven't seen Randy in a long time. Okay. Anyway, I've got a little list here because I wanted to make sure I didn't skip anything. So it tells me here on my list to remind all you fine people that are taking time out of your day to watch this fabulous show, to like and subscribe. Yeah. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. Help me to grow to massive proportions. Oh man, I need some pie. Okay. This is true, Daniel says, except when Shelly has one too many White Claws or demonstrates how to use the shot glasses properly. Yeah, we'll I have to get her back on to do that once in a while. I know I'm like the circus, aren't I? Thank you, Bob. Okay. So yeah, Spaceman says, and it's fabulous. Snack time. It is indeed time for this. And all I have to do is find my little promo. There it is. So let's run this and let's see what happens.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
I'm going to offend some of you by this, but you see that? Those are fresh raspberries and blackberries. Now, what happened was, I love blackberries. You know why they're so expensive? Because they're so hard to pick with all those thorns. We have a kind of an open air Saturday market, farmer's market, I guess you'd call it. It's not really a farmer's market, but that type of thing in my neighboring town of Beaverton, which is actually where I was born and raised. And Harlan Ellison actually spent a night in Beaverton once. And they have a really nice kind of open air market. I think it's got 4 or 5 aisles worth of tents, and people set up mostly food items. And they have a lot of produce there, but a lot of, pastries and, food and stuff like that. And there's some wine and beer for those people that like to start drinking early in the day. So my daughter and I, this was Saturday, we went to this market, and I picked up some flatbread, some rosemary flatbread. Not great. I'm not going to be, I try to help out these guys. I know what it's like to be at a convention and, have you brought all your stuff there in the tent. You need to make a little money. So I bought this bread because I really like flatbread, and I was looking for some good flatbread, and this was not it. So I won't mention their names, but feel sorry for it. But, but I did get the berries, and the berries were good. So raspberries and blackberries. And here's the tragic story. For me, I always get berries, but then I'm looking for pastries, right? Like, because there's no better way to start your day than with the delicious fruit-filled pastry. Well, there was a bakery there representing. They had these lemon squares, and for some reason they were just talking to me. And so I buy a lemon square for $5. I know that's a little steep, but like, again, you're helping out the trying to be a good patron and help these people. And so I got and she goes, oh, I've got some ends, would you like one for free? And basically, like the edge of the glass cooking. What am I trying to say? Pan. Thank you. Glass pan, the cooking pan. And, you're not going to, if you got like little where it's maybe a little brown, a little crispy along the edges, you're going to cut those off and you're not going to sell those to the public. So she had some ends basically. She says, do you want one of these for free? And I said, well, if you're trying to get rid of it, I'll take one. So she did, and I ate it, and it was fine, but it was a little crispy on the outside. So I was holding on to this lemon square, and it was in one of those little paper envelopes they put pastries in. They're a little bit bigger than the pastry, but not much, right? A little white paper. So I had 2 sacks full of berries and the flatbread, and then I had this. So we're walking around. We go by the pickle place. And I asked my daughter, I said, didn't we have pickles here last time? She goes, yeah. And I go, I can't remember if they're any good. And she goes, that's probably not a good sign. I said, yeah, probably. So there's a pickle barrel there. So I have the lemon square in this hand. I switch over to the right hand to lift up the pickle barrel. I look in, just not looking too good. So then I close the pickle barrel, switch the package over to this hand. Unbeknownst to me, I now had it upside down. Start walking, and right on the blacktop, my entire lemon square. So I didn't get to eat my lemon square. And I wasn't going to go back and spend $5 on another lemon square. My daughter's like, no, just go tell them you dropped it. They'll probably give you a new one. I go, I'm not going to do that to this small vendor. Every $5 is a lot, so I didn't want to do that. But so I was very frustrated that I didn't get my lemon square, but I did get some good berries, and there's the moral of the story, I guess, right? Auntie Entity really rubbing it in, saying lemon squares with the berries on top. You missed out. Boy, did I ever. See, now I'm thinking, there you go. God saved you from becoming a big fatty that day. I think maybe you're onto something there. I thought it was divine intervention. And I thought, God's telling me, Aaron, you need to lose 15, not put on another 5. So there you go. So anyway, the blacktop surface ate my, which seemingly would have been delicious lemon square. But you know what? We can sit here and wallow in sadness and tragedy like that, or we can take a look at what Frazetta has to tell us for today. So let's take a look at this. Now I got seeds in my teeth. But anyway, here's the thing. That's one of my favorite. I love the cover to the first issue of Blazing Combat, and I love the cover to the 4th issue, this one. The reproduction on it sucked, as you could tell. It's very washed out. But that's why we compared the original with the printed version. As you could tell by looking at that was still very sort of not painterly, in the sense that you're looking at you're really getting the texture of the paint. That was early in Frazetta's painting career. I think he probably started in early 60s. That was 1965. So again, it's a great classic example of a really great drawing where the painting technique is maybe not quite up to snuff, but you really don't care because the drawing's so good, it carries it. But I didn't think that the painting was bad or anything, but I just thought it was interesting. He was still in that stage where he was using a lot of thinners, and his paint was very thin, and it got thicker as he got more confident and got more comfortable using oil paints. But so that's one of the earlier efforts. But I still like it because the drawing's so stinking good. And again, it's I think the 4th issue, Blazing Combat, the whole series, published through Warren Magazine, the people that gave us Creepy and Eerie. Very low print runs on those. and the fourth, I think, is probably the lowest. So number 1 and number 4 are super expensive, more expensive than I'm willing to pay for them. Let's just put it that way. But, you know, you can still look at the artwork. I got plenty of books with the artwork in it, that's for sure. Everybody's kind of greeting everybody. Oh, there's Jeff Potts. How does Blazing Combat compare to Atari Force? You know, in a lot of ways, they're well, they're kind of like this. There you go. That's how I kind of see them. Kevin Thomas. Oh my gosh, look at this. Hail to all. I'm on vacation, but still watching Aaron while getting a massage. Ah, well, say hello to your masseuse for me. I wouldn't mind getting one right now myself. Bob is heading back to the lobby. Does anyone need anything? Can I get some Raisinets? One of the large boxes of Raisinets. Okay. Well, we got through for Zeta. Okay. So now it's time for, yes, a little bit of a Kit Carter update. Many of you that have backed the campaign, obviously you got the update from me just a few days ago talking about this item right here. This is the Kit Carter Comic-Con International 2024 exclusive Planet Doom Ash can. So I'm not going to show you the insides because there's only 16 pages in here, and you know, why ruin what's in here? But what I did was I made this because I was hoping, big picture, I was hoping to have Kit Carter done and back in the printer by now and, you know, fulfilled, and then I could take, you know, extra copies to San Diego. That's not going to happen. So I needed something. David Williams, of course, suggested that I do a Kit Carter Ash can. I thought, okay, that's a good idea. I'll do that. So this is going to be, I think there's 250, maybe 300 copies of this thing. This is the prototype, the printer's copy that they gave me to check out, you know, so I don't have them all back yet, but so what I did was I offered them to you guys, Kit Carter backers already for these for $5 and no shipping. We'll just toss them in with whatever your order is. They all come signed. They will be $10 in San Diego. And then if I have any left over after San Diego, there'll be $15 on my website. So there you go. So, but anyway, that's what's cooking with this. I'm hoping to get most, if not all, of the colored pages back this week. And then, of course, we're at page 33. I think we're colored and lettered up through 33. And so I'm hoping to get everything to my letterer and designer sometime in this coming week. What does that mean? Well, that means that I leave for San Diego on the following Tuesday. So even if it gets all lettered, it still has to go to the proofreader, and then it still has to come back, and then we have to fix the changes, the proofreader, all the mistakes the proofreader caught, and then get the book to the printers. So it's probably going to be that last week of July that the book actually gets to the printer, which is a month behind where I wanted to be, but I guess in the big picture, that's not horrible. And then, of course, we'll be launching Wraith of God 3 in August sometime. So basically, I'll be fulfilling Kit Carter while we launch Wraith of God, which is really not ideal for me. I'd much rather have Kit Carter completely fulfilled and then launch the next campaign. But I don't want to lose the summer. Once you get into the winter time, holidays come up, and you know, people, their money is directed elsewhere. So I try to make it as easy on you guys if you're going to, you know, back a book to when you're not getting hit on with too many products all at one time. So anyway, obviously I'll keep you posted on all that stuff as it develops. But the poster, everything's at the printer except the book. And the stretch goal also was hit at 125. So we went over 125. We're at 126 something. And so now what you guys get for free with your order, of course, is a sticker that'll go on the front of your comic book box if you are a person that has comic book boxes. And it's going to be 5x7, so it's a pretty good size sticker. And here's the campaign right here. So we're at 126, 222. So the sticker will be about like that. And it'll have Empire Comics logo in the middle, then surrounded by characters from Empire Comics. So it'll be a cool sticker. I'm working on the artwork right now for that. And so we'll get that to the printer here probably right before I leave for San Diego, if all things work out. So anyway, we've got the hardcover. I've got the gallery all put together. We have guest artists and myself contributing to the gallery. There's the soft cover. The gallery's not in the soft cover. Here's some of the artwork from the book. I know most of you have seen all this, but, you know, here it is, sketchbook. I just signed off on that. So that's at the printers as well. It'll probably be back here in 2 weeks. This poster, I haven't got the proof on the poster yet. I did get the proof on the sketchbook and a hard copy proof because I don't trust the digital copies anymore. Learned my lesson. And then this, of course, I'm waiting on the proof for this, but it is at the printers. But I wanted to get a full-size proof so I could not only check out and make sure that, you know, the color and everything was reproducing like it was supposed to, but I wanted to see, make sure that the paper stock is going to be heavy enough, but also flexible enough to roll, because all this stuff is going to be, the poster is going to be mailed in a poster tube. So, but anyway, that's in the process. T-shirts, of course, I've been sent to the printers a while ago. I just reordered these, so I should have my reorder in the next couple days. My mom has already packaged up all the shot glasses. All the stretch goal trading cards are already in their little sleeves, thanks to Grandma Lopresti, and ready to go. Yeah, and we've got Garbage Man trade paperbacks, Power Cube trade paperbacks. You can get with your order. You can get Wraith of God #1, the second printing, if you missed out on that. Or you can get Wraith of God 2 if you missed out on that. This is the first printing on all these. All the covers are still available. And there is going to be some original art thrown up there. I am going to put the sticker art up for sale. I'm going to put the Mr. Midnight trading card art up, and I've got a couple of Kit Carter headshots that are going to go up as well. What was the other thing? There might be something else that I'm forgetting. But anyway, so that will, and here's the other thing. I wanted to close the campaign down before San Diego, but I feel like I'm going to be rushed to do that, considering all the stuff I'm trying to get ready for San Diego. So I think I'm going to leave the campaign open until I get back from San Diego, then close it the week after I get back from San Diego. So if you still haven't backed and you're saying, oh, just give me a little more time, Aaron, you got a little more time. Now that the campaign being open is not going to, I'm not delaying sending the book into the printer just so I can leave the campaign open longer. The book will get to the printer absolutely as soon as it's done. And I obviously will keep you guys updated on all of this stuff. You'll find the link in the description of this video. If you'd like to back this campaign and haven't done so yet, please follow that link, check it out. Also go to my website, aaronlopresti.com. Very easy to find me if you can spell my name. And, check out things there too. So anyway, there you go. That's your Kit Carter update for today. GJ says, Aaron, I just backed the ash can of Kit Carter. Thank you so much for letting me know, since I wasn't aware of this because I had no power when this was said earlier in the week. Yeah. Shelly's like, God, you're really being nice giving it to him for half price. And I was like, these are my people, man. Of course. And I have to admit, I was surprised by how many have been ordered off the campaign page. I thought maybe 20 or 30, and it's over 150 right now. So if I get much more, I may have to cut it off. I don't know. But anyway, so that's what's going on. in Kit Carter land. So unfortunately, where I was hoping to fulfill this, actually, I was hoping to fulfill it in June, but I set the date for July for fulfillment, which is always just a crapshoot because you never know. I did that a year ago, and you never know how, what's going to, end up taking a little bit more time than something else that you didn't, anticipate. But I see this book getting to you guys in August. So just hang in there. We're almost there. And I really appreciate you guys' support and your patience as we continue to provide you more and more cool graphic novels from Empire Comics. And I do believe they are very cool. So thank you guys. Appreciate it. All right. So that is Kit Carter. What else do I got here? Oh, interesting. Okay. I promised James Montgomery Flagg, and I always keep my promises. So let's find my groovy little intro if I can. Oh, do you guys ever see this? It's a good movie. You should check it out if you get a chance. Okay, here we go. I'm an idiot. I forgot. I just loaded the wrong thing. Gosh darn it. Anyways, it's not David Grove. That's who we did last week. This week is James Montgomery Flagg. Gosh darn it. Okay. I hate it when I make dumb mistakes like that, but I am a dumb guy, so that is why I make dumb mistakes. Who is Montgomery Flagg, you may be asking? Well, he probably is best known for this image right now. We'll just start at the top and work our way back. Why don't we? Now, some of you may or may not know this. As a young wee lad, I was unaware of this. This is not a campaign poster, or pardon me, what would you call it? A recruiting poster, I guess, for World War II. This is World War I. So Uncle Sam got his origin in World War I. This was also used in World War II. But Flagg painted this. And, I look at that and I wonder, that really looks like watercolor to me. A lot of his stuff was watercolor and gouache, is my understanding. And that's what this looks like to me. But it's an iconic image. And in fact, Flagg posed with he was his own model for this. So this kind of grumpy Uncle Sam looking, or mean looking, I don't know if grumpy is the right word, was actually based on Flagg himself. So this was the recruitment poster used in World War I. I always thought this was a World War II image, and it really, really wasn't. It was World War I, and then, of course, used again in World War II. Geek Avengers says, wrong, Uncle Sam was first used in the War of 1812. This image of Uncle Sam with the top hat and the star-spangled thing, is that what you're telling me? Because that's like saying Santa Claus was around, but he was really immortalized by Haddon Sundblom, and who really defined the look that we're used to. And it's my understanding that Flagg defined the look of Uncle Sam for World War I. But I wasn't around in 1812, so I can't verify whether Uncle Sam was used, but I will take Geek Avengers' word on that. Yeah. So yeah, I'm sorry, I misspoke. I didn't mean to say that he created Uncle Sam. I meant this modern version that we all know of Uncle Sam this is where it came from, was Montgomery Flagg That is my, that's what I meant to say. So forgive me for misspeaking, geek. But that's why you're the geek, because you know more than I do. Okay. So here's another. I had never seen this one before. I grabbed it immediately. Now this looks like oil paints. Clearly this is oil painting. Unless it's like really, really thick gouache, but I don't think it is. I think this is oils. I love this picture. I've never seen this before. This was 1932. So this is post World War I. Right into, the Depression was what, 1929 when the market crashed? 28 or 29? So we're into the Depression at this point. So this is probably an inspirational, hey, hang in there, folks, we'll get through this together kind of thing. But I love this piece. I was completely unaware of it until I just found this. I don't know about the guns. Victor wants to know who's the model for that. It still looks like Flagg's face to me. I don't know that he was, had the guns or not. All right. So Spaceman, he's schooling me as well. He says illustrations of Uncle Sam, typically with long white hair and a white beard, dressed in a top hat and tailcoat, began appearing shortly after the War of 1812. How about that? All right. Well, I guess I don't deserve to have my own show. It's terrible. But anyway, I'm still giving Flagg credit for modernizing Uncle Sam for us, and I don't care what y'all say. But anyway, there he is. I think that's a great image right there. Now, Flagg was probably better known for his pen and ink work. And if you look at this, it has a real sort of Gibson flair to it. Those of you who might remember the Gibson girls from the late 1800s, early 1900s. And they looked very much like this. And this is very interesting because his line work, and we were looking at same thing with Clement Cole a few weeks back. Look how loose that line work is. And yet the form is there, and it's just really super nice. I just find it fascinating when you get really close to these drawings, how they just become like messy squiggles of lines. And you go, that looks like crap. And then you just pull out and suddenly it becomes this really cool illustration. It's almost like these guys knew what they were doing. Very nice looking stuff. Let me, while we're showing some pictures, let's read a little bio on James. Let me bring up another image here. But this is a nice pen and ink as well. Or I wonder if that was brush and ink. Well, you tell me. We often refer to things as pen and ink that maybe weren't necessarily. Well, it looks more like, some of it looks like brush, some of it looks like pen. I mean, the solid black here definitely was filled in with a brush right here. These are brush lines. These look like brush lines here. But depending on the size of the pen, he could have got that wobble in his pen line as well. I think we probably do a disservice when we start saying, well, this is a pen and ink drawing, or this is that or that, because a lot of guys use multiple tools. Not everybody's like dedicated like Gary Martin is to saying, I only use a brush and screw everything else. So this could have been a combination of both as well. But anyway, really nice illustration. But let's read a little bit about James as we inspect this really fine quality artwork. He was born in Pelham Manor, New York. He attended several art schools, including 4 years at the Art Student League in New York City. He worked prolifically in a number of media, but is best remembered for his poster designs, which we were just looking at, the Uncle Sam stuff. Now, he was born in 1877. long after the War of 1812. Died in New York City in 1960, so he lived to be 83. That's pretty good. A lot of these artists live in their 80s and 90s, which is, except for the ones that don't. So I find that interesting. I mean, is longevity on my side? My mom's 93. Oh, yeah, she's going to be 93 here in August. So she's almost 93. So maybe. By the turn of the century, Flagg had created, by they say the turn of the century, the 20th century. So the 1900s to the 1800s to the 1900s. By the turn of the century, Flagg had created a reputation as a graphic designer and illustrator. When the United States entered World War I, he produced his "I Want You" for U.S. Army poster, which quickly became a household icon and one of the most enduring images of the 20th century. Thank you very much. Here we go. Although Flagg took the design from an earlier British work, he adapted it in a manner that immediately captured the American imagination. Flagg is also well known for his many pen and ink drawings. Fascinated by the vivacity of the 1920s, he sought to capture the spirit of a prosperous nation and a number of intelligent and witty works from that period. Let's take a look at some more of his witty works from that period. And it is kind of funny that how prosperous this country really was in the 20s. It was strangely prosperous and decadent at that point, and then fell right into the Depression, and we became this sort of poor nation for a while. And then, of course, World War II came along, and the industrial machine got everybody back working again, and we haven't looked back since. And of course, it didn't hurt that most of the rest of the world was destroyed, and they had to come to us for just about everything for a while. Here we go. There's a nice little cartoon. Life. Is that a Life magazine cover? Oh, Life Minister's Number. What is it? Not sure what that is. Looks like a magazine cover, though. A distributor of the peace. Anyways, that's a really nice, fun drawing. And one of the things about Flagg is that he was very versatile. Obviously, he did really nice cartoony gag stuff, but he also did really nice pen and ink. He could paint. I mean, it's like all the guys, that were schooled in classical illustration. It's like they did everything. They weren't just like, oh, I'm just a painter, or I'm just a black and white pen and ink artist. They did everything, and multiple mediums too often. Let's see, where was I? During his career, Flagg also executed numerous portraits in oil, ranging from sensitive likenesses of family members to grand renderings of statesmen and celebrities such as Theodore Roosevelt. Therese Tao Heyman posters, American Style, New York and Washington. Oh, I'm sorry, that's who that's who wrote the bio. So anyway, there you got just kind of a quick little bio of him. Let's go ahead and show this grumpy face guy. There is a big book on his work that has Uncle Sam on the cover. There he is. Grumpy James Montgomery Flagg. Funny thing is, he was probably like the nicest, funniest guy in the world, but he just had this kind of like me. And so anyway, there he is, the face of Uncle Sam. And like I said, there's a big hardcover coffee table book on his work. I don't think it ever got much higher than $50-$60. Check out Amazon. I'm sure you'll be able to find it. Just look up James Montgomery Flagg with 2 G's, and you will find it, no doubt. All right. Let's take a quick look at some more of his work. Now, this is nice. This appears to be perhaps charcoal. And again, bringing home the point that these guys could use and work in everything. But it sure looks like, I can't tell. Some of it looks like it could be charcoal with watercolor over the top of it, maybe? Or is that just straight watercolor? I don't know. Some of these strokes here look like they could be charcoal. But that would be a weird combination. That looks like wash, but what if that's wash over the top of charcoal? That's an interesting technique. It might just be ink wash, though. It might just be ink wash. And look at this picture frame back here. It's just like rough strokes, not even really finished in a lot of ways. This is the texture and stuff. It's like, God, these guys weren't afraid to just kind of, everything didn't have to be smooth. They're indicating, shapes and textures in the background, and they put the effort in on the faces. But even the hands, I mean, look at this. To most of us, what we're used to, this would be like a rough sketch, before we did the polished work. Look how rough her hands are. But the faces are so good and the drawings are good. It almost has a little line decker quality to that face, don't you think? Interesting. But really great stuff. I do like Flagg stuff quite a bit. Here's another pen and ink illustration, probably from a men's magazine or a book. Part of an illustrated story, probably. It makes you wonder how much underdrawing is in there, and how much of it is just them, winging it with the pen and ink and drawing with the pen. Smudging it with his fingers or something, maybe. I mean, you could take a rag in there and it's interesting. I don't know. Pity Ma says, "Hi, Aaron. I would love your mom to have a tier. I would pay for her signature. She has created greatness, peace, and love." Thank you very much, Pity Ma. She would be stunned to hear that. I will tell her that you said that. Wizard sleeves must be listening to Pink Floyd. All right, now here's an example of Uncle Sam being used in World War II. Now, there's one great poster he did. I didn't show it because it's would be considered racist and racially insensitive about Uncle Sam and the Japanese. And I don't want to get, struck or something on my channel. So I didn't show that, but if you look for Montgomery Flagg, Uncle Sam posters, it'll probably come up and you'll see which one I'm talking about. I want you, FDR, stay and finish the job. Yeah, we want you to be our socialist king for 12 years. And that's essentially what happened. Although I get it that, you're right. FDR takes over because he was the vice president for somebody that died in office. Was he killed? Was it Grover Cleveland? I can't remember now. Excuse me. Who are the guys who were assassinated? It was Lincoln, Kennedy. There was 4 guys, Garfield, and there was one more. Was it Taft? God, I can't remember. Paul Taft. No, it wasn't Wilson. Anyway, he was the vice president. So he took over in 1931 or 32. So right in the middle of the Depression, he took over. So you have this president guides you through the Depression. So he gets, when something like that, when you're in the middle of a national tragedy, it's really difficult to switch leadership, right? Because you don't trust, you don't want to put yourself in a vulnerable position, right? It's kind of like with Bush second term. We're right in the middle of the, Iraq, it wasn't the Iraq War. It was who did we bomb after 9/11? But anyway, it doesn't matter. So for the point I'm trying to make, it does matter, but it doesn't matter for the point I'm trying to make. So you have FDR taking the country through the Depression, then World War I, World War II. So then he gets this unprecedented third term. And then because we're still in World War II, he gets elected for a 4th term. And that was after that. They're like, "Oh, we're not doing this anymore." And of course, he died in office after 2 years and Truman took over. But good old FDR, who's very well remembered, of course, instituted a lot of the social programs that were now, crushing the government back in the day. So whether or not he was a great president or not, I guess depends on your perspective. But anyway, there's a combination of Flagg's World War I image with a World War II image. Great painting of FDR, though, by the way. Paul Taylor says the 20th U.S. President James, it was Garfield, wasn't it? Was the second to be assassinated. He was assassinated within 6 months after taking office. No. Garfield was right, but who was FDR the VP under? There it is. No, yeah. So Roosevelt took over for McKinley. Am I getting my Roosevelts mixed up? So Teddy Roosevelt took over for McKinley? Storm says, no, FDR won the election. Okay. All right. So I am getting my Roosevelts mixed up. Another prime example why you should never subscribe or watch this channel, because I don't know what I'm talking about. But I do when it comes to art. So I'll just leave world history out of this and move on. So it was, I was thinking of Teddy Roosevelt instead of FDR. All right. Well, they were related. So, I got that going for me, which is kind of nice. All right. So anyway, that's our little look at James Montgomery Flagg, who, again, check him out. Did some really nice work way back in the day. Okay, so I do have more interesting stuff coming along here that maybe I can be more accurate in my discussion points because I actually drew this stuff, and nobody's a better expert on me than me. So let's see what's in the old flat files today, can we? Excuse me. I often get asked to do strange commissions. And this, although not strange in the sense that it's like creepy, but strange in the sense that just unexpected. Some of you that follow me on Twitter and probably have seen this, but we'll take a look at it again anyway. Our resident engineer, Paul Brillard, talked to me back in February when I was at the show in the Bay Area. And he said he had this Sam Gross cartoon. And he said, would you be interested in recreating this, but with the Thor frog instead of this guy, and then make this guy Walter Simonson and this Wheezy Simonson? And I was like, what? But then the more I thought about it, I thought, this actually might be kind of fun because I don't do stuff like this very often. I don't do it at all, except for right here. So I wasn't sure how it would come out, but I'm actually pretty pleased with how it did come out. And here's how it came out, in case you're wondering. So you have, now you have Walt and Wheezy there. This is sort of my impression of Stan Lee back here and Marie Severin back there. So your Mighty Marvel Fine Dining, today's special, frog legs. I didn't want to bring the Thor frog on a cart with no legs. I just thought that would be too, too gross. And plus, he's Thor frog. Who's going to cut his legs off, right? Is Loki the chef? I mean, come on. So anyway, we just did it this way, and it's kind of like they're maybe considering buying frog legs, and Thor frog's letting them know that that is an unacceptable choice. So anyway, Skull Nasher says the bald guy eating in the back, Gary. No. They're talking about Teddy Roosevelt getting shot in the chest and then finishing his speech. I do know that happened. Well, as far as I know, I mean, I added them in the posting and they haven't said anything, but I know that Paul sent them and he got a laugh out of them, he said. So I don't know. It must be kind of weird to be sort of like iconic that someone would actually think to do a gag cartoon with you in it. And people would get it, you know. So, Walt and Weezy are, I should say Walter. He does not like Walt. Walter and Weezy are really some of the nicest people in the industry all time. And so I'm sure they got a kick out of it. I wouldn't have done it if I thought that they would be somehow offended or ticked off. But he hasn't talked to me since, so I don't know. I'm kidding. I'm sure they're cool with it. And according to the guy who commissioned me, Paul, they liked it. So there you go. Yeah, it might be Alfred might be back there serving dog trouble. Okay, the other thing I want to show you guys is I did a piece for my son for his birthday, which was 4th of July. But I couldn't show it for the longest time because I didn't want him to happen across it before I actually gave it to him because we couldn't get together on his birthday. He had other plans. That's when you know that you're second rate. Your kids are growing up and they're like, oh yeah, we're a birthday and we're doing stuff with our friends. And you're kind of like, oh yeah, okay, I guess you don't need us anymore. No, but it saved me money on a cake. So I'm happy about it. But anyway, finally saw him this weekend and he always requests artwork from me. I don't know if he's planning on building up a big stack collection that he can sell when I die, or I don't know. But so it's always nice because I'm like, well, now I don't have to, trying to buy stuff for people gets really hard. And the older they get, it's like the more they have. And my son's 30. And, so having the option of giving him something like this is really kind of cool because he likes it and he actually requested it. I would never be so presumptuous to go, oh, you're getting another drawing this year. But if he wants something for Christmas, he'll go, hey, Dad, can you, and I'll do something for him. And I'd already done a regular Spider-Man in a similar pose, swinging the opposite direction. So I thought this would be kind of cool to have a companion piece or like swinging into each other, or sort of one in the black costume and then in the regular Spider-Man costume. I don't know why my throat is so dry today. Blackberries. Well, Murdoch, I'll tell you right now, man, we appreciate you going over there and fighting. That's for sure. It says, first birthday I spent without my parents. I was in a lovely little crap hole called Ramadi, Iraq. That's what I was trying to think of, the Iraq War, right? No. Which one? Who did we attack? We had troops in Turkey and we had troops in Afghanistan. Not Afghanistan. Judas Priest. I'm losing my mind. I don't even talk about history anymore. Everything gets so convoluted up there in my my mind if I haven't looked at it in a while. Oh, he says he was a contractor there supporting the troops. Well, that's combat duty, man. You're right there in the middle of that stuff. Wow. Paul Taylor says he never liked the black costume. It was a nice change. It shot some energy into Spider-Man, who was sort of, I don't think he was ever becoming he was becoming less popular or less, becoming more like an icon than a popular character maybe. And that the black costume really sort of woke people up. And so I think it was a good thing. Of course, I love the traditional costume. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so those are a couple things out of the old flat file that if you will, that I have prepared over the last couple weeks. I've been scrambling to get commissions done that I promised people before San Diego, and I finished my last one yesterday. I can't show it because, the people that got the commission haven't even seen it yet, so I can't do that. Ooh, look at that. The Skibidity Rizzler says, I was stationed in the Kuwaiti desert 50 miles from the Iraq border with Tank Battalion back in 95. Wow. I can't even imagine, to be living in the United States, which, of course, the greatest country in the world, and having the freedoms and really not, unless you live in a big city someplace where it can get a little dangerous sometimes, and then shipping over to a war zone where suddenly you got a gun in your hand and you're like, you may have to take somebody's life or something. And it's just like, I can't even imagine. So we really appreciate all that you guys that served, all that you did. Vic, Dad, I don't have a Gladiator CalArc. I don't even know what that means. Half the time, Victor, I have no idea what you're talking about. Anyway, so something else I want to share with you guys today. Well, I got a couple things yet, but checking the list. Okay. This is going to be my week's top 5, and this was interesting. Because it's every week you're kind of like, have I already done my top 5 hamburgers? Have I done my top 5 tacos? And you're like, okay, well, no one cares about my top 5 tacos. And you start going back and forth with different ideas. And then I came up with something I thought, oh, this will be interesting. I tried to pick up a raspberry and it disintegrated in my hands. Oh, well. Yeah, my top 5 bestest ideas that got rejected in the comic industry. How about that? I think that's relatively interesting. So let's take a look. I actually have more than just 5, and I'm gonna throw out one here for you guys because I don't have any artwork to show you. So that's why it's not in the top 5. And I'm not sure it is a top 5 of my ideas that got rejected, but I did have a proposal for Night Nurse. And the idea was that Night Nurse was working at the hospital. And one night we start off with her treating Howard the Duck in the emergency room. Then Spider-Man comes in with some sort of injuries or something, right? So she's just kind of on cloud 9 going, oh my gosh, I've been treating these unusual characters and these, superhero and Spider-Man. And so she's walking home from work, which everybody does in New York City at night, right? But she's heading home out of the hospital. Maybe she's heading to the subway. I don't know. And she walks right into the middle of this fight between the Submariner and the Thing. And so the Submariner is beating the crap out of the Thing, or gets the best of the Thing. Now, boy, I'm having a hard time with my memory today. Because this is almost history. This was so long ago. Most of my good ideas I created in the 90s when I was trying to break in and get regular work in comics. Might have been Spider-Man and the Submariner fighting. Doesn't matter. Anyway, so the wall collapse. It was Spider-Man. The wall collapses on Spider-Man, and Submariner says something like, his last words, and stay out, and then he goes flying off. And so Spider-Man's unconscious and all this kind of stuff. And so there's Night Nurse trying to help him, like first aid to him. So the FF show up, and because they were tailing Submariner, and they take her. Everybody goes back to the FF building, the Baxter building, and so the Human Torch and the Thing are kind of like vying for this, the night nurse's attention, right? And so they're fighting, and she gets her costume. She gets her costume disintegrated by the Human Torch by accident. So she's standing there, naked. And so they give her a old FF costume that was rejected. It was white with red, 4 on it and all this kind of stuff. So she takes it back and gets back to her apartment and starts thinking about, that maybe she could be more than just a regular nurse. Maybe she could be a nurse to the superheroes. So she changes her costume so that it becomes a 4. Right, so this is the red circle. With the red cross on it in the middle there. Takes the 4 and takes the costume apart and resews it. And all the while, there's this romance stuff going on with the doctor playing out in the background. Anyway, so she goes to work, and then the next night she's going to go on the prowl, right? And she's going to be like the nurse to the superheroes, and she stumbles across this fight between Captain America and the Absorbing Man, and she ends up being able to, with some ether or something, not ether, but something she had in her nurse pack that was able to, the Absorbing Man accidentally absorbed, and it like knocked him out, and Cap was able to win. But she almost got killed in the process, so she thinks maybe this isn't such a great idea. Maybe I should never do this again. This is silly. She goes back to her apartment, and the last scene of the Thing is that Thor shows up outside her window with her purse because she left it at the scene of the crime or something. And then she's like, "Ooh, maybe I'm not done yet," kind of thing. So anyway, I presented this to Marvel, and I can't believe they didn't go for it. Leg Kick for $2 says you didn't get a super chat in a while, so whatnot. Thank you so much, Leg Kick. Appreciate that. Paul for $10. Hey, Aaron, in the chat, I can see Namor beating Spidey, but not the Thing. Yeah, it wasn't the Thing. And Spider-Man wasn't the one originally. It was Howard the Duck and somebody else that she treated that night, not at the same time, but during that night on her shift. And then she was coming home. She walked into this fight between Spider-Man and the Submariner, and Spider-Man gets this brick wall dropped on him, basically, and because Namor's all pissed off at him or something. And then the FF, or at least the Thing and Johnny, show up, and there's this babe, and they're like, "Oh, here, let's get Spider-Man out of her." And she goes, "Oh, I'm his nurse. I got to come with you to make sure he's okay." So she goes with him, and then, I thought it was funny, but apparently Marvel didn't. Anyway, what'd they say here? Damage control is to repair the damage of epic battles. Why wouldn't there be a dedicated hospital for heroes after the epic battles? Excellent point. I never read Damage Control. I remember when it came out, but it didn't interest me because it was like side story, and I wanted the main characters. I never liked issues where they're like, there was one for Captain Atom where they said Captain Atom does not appear in this issue. And I'm like, what a great selling point. But it was all about his buddies, his little inner circle of friends. I'm like, I don't want comics like that. I don't care. Work those side stories in where Spider-Man's fighting Green Goblin. You know what I mean? Don't make a whole issue of it. But that's just me. Well, the funny thing is, in this Night Nurse thing, you picked the superheroes I wanted to draw. And I didn't care about, the other stuff, because I know that Absorbing Man is not really a Captain America villain, but I wanted both of them in it. So anyway, but it never got done anyway. So there you have it. Okay. So that's like a little honorable mention. But since I don't have any artwork, I didn't include it. So let's go with the actual list, starting with number 5. Hopefully some of you read this. This was my Batman Legends of the Dark Knight story, and this is the cover for it. It was originally released digitally, and then it was released in a comic, like a 100-page giant, and then it was released in a trade paperback. So it's been in print a couple of times. And And like I often do, even though the story had nothing to do with the Joker, Clayface, or Killer Croc, I used all three of them in the story to set up the larger story just so I could draw them. That's a great thing about being an artist writer or writer artist, depending on how you look at it. You can do stuff like that. So anyway, this was the story. It was called I, Batman, and it got Hank Canals was the editor. And this is I pitched him, the first story I pitched him, he didn't go for, because he didn't feel like it was worthy of the title of Legends of the Dark Knight. It needed to have more gravitas, right? And so I ended up doing this one. I pitched him another one. I said, okay, what about this? He goes, okay, let's do that. But the first one I loved because it starts off with Batman getting these strange notes that don't seem to make any sense. And then he follows this, each clue he keeps getting. And each time it's a different villain. Like it starts off with a Joker, then maybe it's Killer Croc. I probably use the same villains, Clayface, whatever. And but every time he'd get in a battle with one of them, at the end of the battle, they would like disappear or become gigantic, and it would get all weird. And then he would be on to the next adventure. So he starts thinking, oh my gosh, Scarecrow must be behind this because I'm hallucinating. Maybe I'm getting drugged through these notes that I keep getting. And he's trying to figure all this stuff out. And at the end, here I am laughing because I just cracked myself up. At the end, he comes to the realization of who it is. Because I know I finally figured it out, because of course he is the world's greatest detective. And we're kind of downshot looking at him as he's yelling upward, I figured it out. I know who you are. You can't get away with this or whatever. And the last page is a splash page of Bugs Bunny closing the door on Batman with a pencil in his hand, like on an animation board, saying, ain't I a stinker? Which is the exact ending to Duck Amuck, the Warner Brothers cartoon, where he does the same thing to Daffy Duck, but he just did it to Batman. And I thought it would be hilarious. And it was hilarious, but like I said, it was a little lighthearted for what they wanted. So I had to give them something. I had to give them something a little bit more heavy and dark. And that's what I did. And so I had this guy create a kind of a Frankenstein Batman. The guy was obsessed with Batman, and he was stealing DNA samples from Batman that during these battles that he has with these other characters, he gets cut or bleeding, and he's there to sneaking around and picking up DNA samples and creates this sort of Frankenstein Batman character to create his own Batman. And that's what this story ended up being. And it was a fun story, and it was, had a little moral to it and all that kind of stuff. That is exactly right, Paul. It was Duck Amuck, the classic Warner Brothers cartoon that I was paying homage to. But apparently they didn't want me paying homage to it with Batman. So I didn't do it, but I did this one, and then, it worked out fine. All right. Now this next one, I really thought I had something here, but anyway, let's take a look at number 4. I'm going to show you a couple pieces of artwork because I don't have the team shot that I did. This is for a book called Justice League, The Odd Squad. So it took place in the 60s and featured such heroes as the Creeper, the Dolphin. You might remember her from Showcase. Who else is it? Plastic Man was in it. Metamorpho was in it. So again, here I'm picking all the characters I like to draw that everybody hates. Angel and the Ape was in it. And who was the guy that lasted? He was basically the big life-size doll, the Geek. Brother Power the Geek was in it. And the story was that Uncle Sam, who the spirit of Uncle Sam, was one of those, what do they call them in DC? Like the Spectre's one of them, and the Phantom Stranger's one of them. And I think one of the Guardians, the blue guys, the Green Lantern dudes, they're one of them. Well, in this story, Uncle Sam's one of them. And the story starts with there we go. That's it. Apex has got it. Creeper, Dolphin, Metamorpho, Plastic Man, the Geek, Angel, and the Ape. Yep. I know Graham Nolan did the Marcus Killigrew says Graham Nolan did the Metamorpho miniseries. I know, and I was very jealous when I saw it. So anyway, Uncle Sam, this is, of course, I have this issue, by the way, from 1941, I think it is, 42. National Comics number 26. That's a Reed Crandall cover. He actually did the story inside, and Hitler actually appears in the story. Gotcha, Marcus. That's Reed Crandall, not Lou Fine. So anyway, the 60s, of course, were a time of social unrest, things we're not necessarily unfamiliar with. And Uncle Sam's kind of looking down on the earth going, you know, the people, they hate authority, they hate the government, all these things that he thought were still pretty good things. Well, they certainly weren't in the 60s. But, you know, he was very old school in his thinking, as he would be. He's Uncle Sam, right? So he's like, I'm going to go down there and I'm going to form a super team that is more in line with the people of the 60s and someone they can trust, something counterculture. And the Spectre's like, don't get involved, don't do it. And he's like, no, I know what I'm doing. And so Uncle Sam goes down and forms this team of these misfit heroes that I just told you about. And they're called the Justice League Odd Squad. And it just is one disaster after another. And the real Justice League keeps coming in to clean up their messes. It's a PR disaster. Nothing's working, you know, the way that Uncle Sam thought it was going to. And, but what happens is Eclipso, and as I dug deeper into Eclipso, I found out this doesn't really work, but I don't care. So he was going to fire off nuclear weapons, Eclipso was, so that there would be a nuclear winter. And it would always be night, basically. So he could exist 100% of the time, not just when the moon was out. So they have to stop Eclipso from basically destroying the planet in a nuclear winter. And they do it. But Uncle Sam learns his lessons like, okay. And, you know, the Spectre gives him a little bit of I told you so. And, you know, he disbands the group. But I had Dan DiDio on the line for it, but then he was kind of like, no one cares about a story that takes place in the 60s. I'm not, yeah, no. So I was like, so there it goes. But yeah, it was called Justice League, the Odd Squad. And there it is. Citizen Ron's exactly right. Uncle Sam with a bunch of smelly hippies. And that was kind of the fun dynamic. He's this old, staunch World War II conservative guy, and he's got all these newfangled sort of hippie superheroes that just he couldn't relate to at all. And it was just a disaster. And, you know, good fun was had. But again, it's tough getting stuff approved at major publishers because nobody wants to take the risk that it might not do well. So anyway, that's number 4. And I will say on a quick side note that I did have a proposal for a Creeper series. But this is where he went to another dimension and then came back. And he was I mean, he wasn't just crazy. He was really crazy and scary because of his experiences in this other dimension that he got. I think I did it. I played it off of, I played it off. I remember that Eclipso thing that Bart Sears did when they had that big Eclipso crossover event at DC, and you could get the giant size Eclipso it had the plastic moon gem or whatever, the purple gem glued onto the cover of the comic. It was right after that. So Eclipso was hot. And during this event, the Creeper got sucked into this alternate universe where I think they sent, I can't even remember now, it's been so long, but I think they sent Eclipso there to get rid of him finally at the end of this thing. And somehow the Creeper got sucked into this dimension and came back. But he was really nuts. And he would talk to this little Creeper, kind of like Batmite, but it was like little Creeper that he imagined was there. And anyway, I thought it was a pretty decent concept, but I was really early in my career, and there was no way they were going with that, so they did not do it. But anyway, that was just a little sidebar there. Okay, let's keep this train moving along. Let's go to number 3. Yeah, you've heard of this one before, and you've probably seen this image before, but gosh darn it, here it is. In fact, I think Creative Faye alluded to it earlier in the chat. This is, of course, my giant-sized Man-Thing proposal that I did get approved at Marvel, but never got off the ground, and they kept sort of using it as a carrot, and I just got irritated, and that was part of the whole thing that I went over to DC for, because I really wanted to write and draw some stuff. And of course, I ended up doing Garbage Man rather than this Man-Thing story. But the Man-Thing story is, since Marvel owned all the Malibu characters, I had introduced, this is Shelley Rogers, no relation to my wife. Yeah, right. Shelley Rogers, Ace Reporter, who I introduced in Sludge. And actually used Shelley was the model for the character. And actually, I was the newspaper editor. I think Gary was in it as well as one of the reporters or something. And but Shelley was like this. She was the niece of Carl Kolchak, the Night Stalker, and dating back to 70s TV for those of you. So she was like this investigative reporter in Sludge, and so I was going to use her in this Man-Thing story. And basically, what happens is she works now for the National Enquirer or something like that, because all the monster stuff that she was doing had sort of got her the wrong kind of reputation. So she ends up, the only job she can get now is doing stories for National Enquirer. So this hillbilly out in the middle of the swamp someplace said he saw a UFO. So she's out there investigating, and she gets abducted by aliens. It turns out there actually is aliens. And they also abduct the Man-Thing out of the swamp. And they're messing around with the Man-Thing's, doing probes, and they activate his mind, right? So he's now Ted Sallis, the scientist. He's got his mind back. And so then he and Shelley Rogers, Ace Reporter, figure out a way to take down the aliens and stop the invasion and all this kind of stuff. But all the while, Man-Thing is losing his cognitive abilities, kind of like Joe Biden. And so it's, if any of you have ever seen the movie Charlie or the book Flowers for Algernon, where they take this dimwit and make him super intelligent, but it doesn't last. And he starts, I guess Lawnmower Man was the same thing. I never see that movie, but same concept. They make a dumb guy really, really smart, and then, but he can't maintain it, and he slowly goes back to being a dumb guy again. Same thing happens with Man-Thing. So, but he's like, it's kind of a Beauty and the Beast thing going on. I actually talked to Louise Simonson about how to handle the character relationships and stuff. And it would have been great. Giant Size Man-Thing, #1. You would have bought it. I know you would have. But anyway, never got off the ground, and there it sits. There you go. Geek Avenger. Flowers for Algernon equals giant-sized Man-Thing. Yeah. Editor after concept meeting. Keep your eye on that guy. Something's off with him, indeed. Oh, they probably ripped me off. Borovoj Geirbeck. It happened in Khazar with Magor. Okay, well, I guess I should read my Khazar. Well, it's not a new concept, obviously. I mean, I was ripping off Flowers for Algernon, but I did like the idea of what if Man-Thing, was smart and could communicate for a period of time, and then realize what had become of him and all this kind of stuff, and then slowly losing it as they're trying to defeat these aliens from inside their own ship. Anyway, okay, so I've got 2 more. Let's take a look at those. All right. Now this one almost got done as well. God, I've got a lot of near misses. This, of course, is a Superman cover I did, but I didn't have any artwork from this proposal. It never got that far. But this was something called Superman. And it was, again, all these were like designed to be one-shot graphic novels, or one-shot prestige formats or something like that. But they could have obviously been miniseries or whatever too. But it was called The Storybook Man was the name of the story, right? So what happens is a couple of fantasy characters like the Mad Hatter, not the Batman villain, but the actual Mad Hatter from Alice in Wonderland, Frankenstein, and I think Dorothy from the Wizard of Oz hold up this Starbucks, and they're stealing money, and Superman sees this going on and goes down there, and but he can't defeat them because he realizes they're magic beings. So they get away, and so he's totally confounded by this. So he starts doing research, and I think this is at the period of time where Superman and Lois were married, if memory serves. And so anyway, he starts doing some investigative work, and he tracks these characters down to this old bookstore. And there's this old, Uncle Creepy looking dude that runs the bookstore. And so Superman's investigating this whole thing and asking him questions. And the old guy goes, perhaps the answers you're looking for might be in this book. And he hands him this book. He opens this book up and he gets sucked into the book. It's his magic book, right? And that's when we find out that the old guy running the bookstore is actually Mr. Mxyzptlk. So Superman is trapped in this book. And what he finds out is that he can transfer, all the literature is connected. And so he can jump from one story to the next, so to different authors and stuff. So he's there's a part where he's in a Western, and then he John Carter type thing going on, and murder mystery, all these kind of things. And he's involved in this, trying to figure out how he can get out of this. And then he realizes that if he's in the story, he can dictate the events of the written word. And so he knows what book that Lois is reading. And so he starts to communicate to Lois through the book and giving her, suggestions and stuff to get her in there to kind of help him. And then at the end, he has this great way of tricking Mr. Mxyzptlk and getting Mr. Mxyzptlk in the story and him out of the story. And the last image is he's in A Tale of Two Cities. And Mr. Mxyzptlk gets his head lopped off in the guillotine, and his head's in a basket. And he's screaming, Superman, I'll get you for this. And that's the end of the story. Spoilers. So anyway, I had pitched this to Bob Harris, and they brought in a new guy to do be editor-in-chief of the line that helped him out, basically. So everything had to get through this guy before it got to Bob. And they both liked it, but they said, well, you're not writing it, though. But it's something maybe we could do as a, 4 issues of in Superman or Action Comics or something. And I'm like, well, why can't I write it? And of course, this guy had a notion that because of some of the failed artist-writer projects they had done, that artists can't write. And I said, why don't you judge each individual on its own merits? I said, I've written several things. I'd already written the Metamorpho miniseries. I'd done the Batman story. I said, I've got material I've written for you guys. Why don't you read it and see if you think I'm good enough to do this? If you don't, that's fine. But don't just write me off because I'm an artist and say I can't write. And so we had this discussion. It was a very frank discussion and very honest discussion. But then, as usual, it never went anywhere. So once again, another swing and a miss. But let's take a look at number 1. This is something that all of you may be familiar with. Yeah, baby, it's Wraith of God. Now, this, of course, I've told this story many times. I'm sure most of you have heard it already, but hey, I got to fill the programming with something. So anyway, this was originally designed to be a revamping of the Western Ghost Rider for Marvel. And they had no interest in doing the Western Ghost Rider at all. And it had similar themes as Wraith of God, you know, in terms of the origin of the character and things like that. There was no Esther. He actually took over for the original. He was trained by the original Ghost Rider and became the new Ghost Rider. Who was the original Ghost Rider? I think it was Carter Slade. Is that right? That sounds right. I can't get my Roosevelts right, but I think Carter Slade is correct. Was the original Western Ghost Rider. And so he finds this bad guy who gets his face blown off and, rehabs him and trains him to take over for him. And so you have some of those same elements that the Wraith of God has. But it didn't have I don't think it had the Christian themes in it. And obviously it didn't have Esther in it. And, but the idea was still going to be the same, that he was going to be hunting monsters, but it was the Ghost Rider. And, nobody had any interest in Ghost Rider at all. They're like, why would we do a Ghost Rider series? Why are you wasting our time? And so, but I really liked the concept that I'd come up with. And so I just kept fleshing it out over the years. And it finally became what we now know as Wraith of God. And of course, Wraith of God 3, Fear Hollow, will be launching here in about a month or so. I just got to get the sign-up campaign going, and we'll get that thing rolling. So I'll be waiting for this. It's going to be epic. It's going to be freaking epic. But anyway, so there you go. Those are my top 5 story ideas that were rejected by mainstream comics. But you know what? They're probably watching this video right now. They're going to do every single one of those now. And not give me any credit. All right, here we go. Debuting in Marvel Spotlight, Johnny Blaze was the first Ghost Rider in Marvel Comics history. And the second character used the name Carter Slade is a Phantom Rider used the name first. That is correct. But Marvel actually acquired the rights to the Ghost Rider, which was it A1 Magazine Enterprises? What was it that published in the 50s, published the Ghost Rider? Anyway, they acquired the rights to him. And obviously they weren't going to call him the Ghost Rider because they already had the Ghost Rider. They're Johnny Blaze. So he became the Knight Rider, not the television show, but the Knight Rider. And that was Marvel did release Ghost Rider by Dick Ayers in the 60s. Okay. Was it 6 issues or 12 issues? I think it was just 6. 1967. They launched that. And I happen to know this because I have it. And then when they introduced Ghost Rider on the motorcycle, Johnny Blaze, they could no longer use Ghost Rider the Western. So they changed his name to Knight Rider and then reprinted those Dick Ayers stories in the 70s with Gil Kane, really cool Gil Kane covers, by the way, under the title of Knight Rider. And then, like you said, they changed his name to Phantom Rider eventually. So there you go. And I think Marcus Killigrew will back me on this. There it is. Yes, there he is. He's, but not that Knight Rider, like Knight, N-I-G-H-T, no K. I'm not wrong again. I am right on this one. Right, I tell you. They're talking about David Hasselhoff. Already been cast as Nick Fury. Oh, boy, that was a classic. Paul says, when I start buying comics, Western comics were over and done with. True. And bringing them back was a risk. But they seem to be back in full force after Wraith came out. Interesting, isn't it? Am I a trendsetter? I don't know. I'm a rehasher of old trends is what I am. I had no confidence Wraith of God was going to work. I don't know why. I just felt like divinely inspired to go that route. And I'm not joking. And so I threw caution to the wind and it worked. So there you go. All right, folks, where are we at here? 5:40. Okay. I think it's time for the science portion of the show, where we really get down and figure out what's what in nature. Yep, it's that time again. I want to show you some actual real weird stuff before we get to the, I don't know if this is real weird stuff. Sometimes reality can be stranger than fiction. Take a look at this, if you dare. 2021, guys out boating in the Mediterranean Sea, and they catch this. What is it, ladies and gentlemen? It's a, come on, show me. Giant sunfish. Are you freaking kidding me? Yes, 3.2 meters long, 2.9 wide. That's pretty freaky right there. Our good friend, the sunfish. I mean, can you imagine hauling that thing? And that thing is freaking huge. Look at him. Doop, doop, doop. I don't even know how these things swim, to be honest with you. You got those little tiny fins on the side, and then you got the top fin on the bottom and the fin on the top. I don't even know how that thing works. And yet there it is. 3.2 meters is what? About 17 feet long? 16 feet long? Man, are you kidding me? Iodine 74 says, and that's not even a big one. Holy crap. Santiago says, that's terrible CGI. It almost looks real. Thank you. Kit Marcus says, Ghost Rider was published by Magazine Enterprise, 14 issues from 50 to 54 with Frank Frazetta covers. You are correct about that. But it was Magazine Enterprises. Thank you very much. Citizen Ronan says, there was a story a couple days ago about one of these near surfers who at first thought it was a shark. Well, yeah, if that big old fin's sticking up, I would think so too. Marcus Killigrew says, I saw a sunfish in Cape Cod once. It was huge. Cape Cod. That was near Martha's Vineyard where they filmed Jaws, isn't it? I mean, you know, same neck of the woods kind of thing. Well, they said that it's 3.2 meters long. I mean, that was in this video. So whatever that is, actual feet wise. No, wait a minute. It would only be what, about 12 feet, wouldn't it? 3.2 meters. It'd be more like 12 feet, wouldn't it? A meter is 3 feet, right? Give or take. So if it was 3 meters, that's 9 feet plus whatever the 0.2, 10, 11, somewhere in that neighborhood. Yeah, there we go. Past Master Dan is confirming that a meter is actually 3 feet. Okay. Well, anyway, so I thought that was interesting. Now, I found this even more interesting. And again, this is real, I think. I want to believe. Okay. So this is off the coast of South America someplace. Some guys boating out there in 2015. What did they find? I'll tell you what they found. They found this freaking huge manta ray. 1 ton. Are you kidding me? Look at the size of that thing. 26 feet. Not 26 feet, but 26 feet across. It's right there, folks. Oh, where's the one they're holding him up? That is a big freaking fish. Now, when I was scuba diving at the Great Barrier Reef in Australia, I saw a stingray zoom by, but not a manta ray. That would be something else, man. Those things are just gigantic. That's a big one. So who needs fake monsters when we have real ones like that? Yeah, that's what they called me, Scuba Aaron. I was scared to death. I didn't even want to go. Shelly was going to go, but then they found out she had asthma, and they're like, you can't go scuba diving because without a doctor's note to clear us of any sort of culpability. They said, because if you have an asthma attack underwater, your lungs will explode. And you're like, ugh. So we'd already paid, so I went. And I was scared to death. But once I got down there, it was pretty cool. And then I went a second time, which really pissed Shelly off because then I went twice and she didn't get to go once. But hey, that's what are you asking me for? You're the biologist. You're supposed to know that stuff. Okay. Now let's get into the stuff that perhaps we're not as likely to believe. Some guys with a those little flying camera things, drones, supposedly got this. Let's see. There's a skinwalker, folks, or a rake, or whatever you want to call those things. Or is it their buddy in a white suit? You tell me. That looks like a dude crawling around painted white or in a white suit. Doesn't look particularly skinny. Doesn't look anything abnormal about him. Although there's something wrong with you if you get dressed in a white suit and go out and let your buddies film you. But there it is. Is it a rake? Is it a skinwalker? What's the difference between a rake and a skinwalker? That speaks for itself. That's just Chuck after a cocaine binge. Victor says, Aaron, if I'm at a con you're at, you are not leaving without doing a bishop drawing for me. On land, ratty, 120 pounds, Victor is king. Well, Victor, if we ever get the chance to meet, I'd be more than happy to let you pay me big money to do a bishop for you. But the question at hand right now, of course, is what are we to make of all this? Just a few likes? Dude on meth looking for his stash, says Wizard Sleeves. Yeah, that's my kind of thing. Is it? Well, at least it's relatively clear. Angela Curry says she appreciates the limb placement, so we don't get to see too much rake from the rake, I think is what she's hinting at. Eric Boyd, gross, some meth head in his skivvies. Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. Talk about seeing strange things in their skivvies. Let me recount this tale to you quickly. My daughter is at a dance. What do you call it? It's right on the tip of my tongue. A dance Theodore Roosevelt. That's what it was called. No, it's like a convention, and so she's there for 2 weeks in Oklahoma doing this, and they take classes from top professionals, and there's scouts there, from dance companies and stuff. And so we had to go to the airport because there's no, you don't just catch a flight from Portland to Oklahoma, right? You got to go through Texas and back up. And so we take her to the airport. And those of you familiar with the area, if you're not, there's two highways to get, there's there's one route to get to the airport, one clear route, and it's you go on I-5, which is Interstate 5, then you get on I-84, which then is another highway that takes you right up to the airport, right? So, it's still a 30-minute drive without traffic, but, it's at 3:30 in the morning because our plane left at 5:30. It's like, there's no traffic. So I get to where the I-5 is supposed to connect with the I-84, and they got the ramp closed, and they say I-84 is closed. Take an alternative route. And I'm like, what alternative route? So I had to drive at 3:30 in the morning through Portland and through all these back streets and go in the back way to the airport. And so we barely made it, right? And so she gets on the flight. So I'm heading home. It's now 5:30. So the sun has come up. There's light out. And I have to drive back the same way I came because the I-84 is still closed. So I'm driving. We have one street called 82nd, Northeast. Anything Northeast is not necessarily great. And so it's Northeast 82nd, which used to be, we'd say that's where all the hookers were and all that stuff when, we were told that anyway when we were kids. And so I get a block past there and I come to a stoplight. And it's 5:30 in the morning. Okay. And I see to the corner of my eye, I see this chick standing on the corner. And I kind of glance over real quick and then do this double take because I'm like, is that chick naked? Look, and she's standing on the street with a phone like this, and she has fuzzy slippers on, and she had like a really small bikini bottom. It looked like a swimsuit bottom because it was all colored and stuff, but it could have been underwear. I don't know. And then I couldn't tell if she had a top on or not because she was going like this and was looking at her phone, just standing there at 5:30 in the morning. So that was yeah. So then I'm driving a little bit farther, and then on this side of the street, I don't know, a couple of miles closer or farther down the road, some dude is sitting out there, and again, we're 5:45 in the morning, sitting out there in his boxer shorts and nothing else, standing on the side of the road smoking a cigarette. And I'm like, man, that's why I live on the way west side. No, it wasn't. It was not a dream. Yeah, it'd be my luck to get the one guy who gets a ticket at 5 a.m. for going through a red light. But that was quite I was like, and there was no house nearby. It's not like she was standing out in front of somebody's house. It's like somebody dropped her off in the corner, which may have actually been the case. I don't know. But fuzzy slippers and bikini bottoms, whether they were underwear or swimming suit, and then questionable whether she had anything, on top or not, and just standing there in the street, in the corner of the street. America, baby. All right, let's look at some more shocking videos. This one is shocking because it's so bad, but we got to have some entertainment value on this show. I'm going to leave the sound on. I don't know if you guys will be able to hear it or not. Actually, let me try this again because I think if I do this a different way, you might be able to hear this. Why isn't it? It's not showing in my tabs. Well, that sucks. Well, if you can't hear it, you can't hear it because it's not going to make or break it. But here we go. Yes. How tragic is that? So I guess what we're to believe here is this guy's filming his buddy, and his buddy looks really scared and shocked. And there's a rake or a skinwalker 3 feet from him in his yard, and he doesn't know he's there. Hey, what are you running from, dude? What are you looking at? Hey, where are you going? What's up? Huh? What? So there you go. It's kind of like American Werewolf in London where, David Naughton runs from his buddy who's getting eaten by the werewolf. Apparently this guy's dead. So now if you're killed by a rake, do you become a rake? Or do you become a shovel maybe? I don't know. But they do. Can you guys hear this? Because they're playing like sinister music behind this. And the guy's yelling as he's getting like tore up, but he's not making the kind of sounds I would think you would make if you're getting, brutalized by a rake. Well, that's pretty shocking stuff right there. See, there's our bearded friend who's dead now, apparently, from this rake attack. Good thing he left the camera turned up while he was getting killed by the rake. Do we have a decent? There he is. Do we have a decent shot of the rake? So now here's the thing. We all have these amazing, 4D, 4HD cameras on our phones, and there's no way you get a blurry image like this. So let's just say he's got a buddy here. Let's say this isn't Photoshop. Let's just say it's his buddy in a suit. Then after they film it, then they take it in to a digital program and fuzz it up so you can't tell how crappy it actually looks. I'm just not buying this scenario here. Okay, so this rake looks like he's on his back. Did he fall off the roof? I mean, how does he not know this thing is like 3 feet from him in the yard? And then it gets up off its back, apparently, right? Isn't that what we're seeing here? He's on his back like a turtle. He gets up and attacks. But where did he come from? Where did he come from? They just didn't do a very good job setting up this story. Yeah, and I know that the guy that directed that film ended up being a pedophile, and he ended up in jail, and it kind of hurt the opening of that film, Powder. Oh, Eric Boyd says it's so real because it was all over police scanner and national news. Confirmed. Excellent. So apparently death by rake. That's what it looks like. You don't want to experience it if you can avoid it at all costs. Let's take a look at some Loch Ness Monster stuff. See what you guys think of this. On that the first Skinwalker, I'd give it a B, because at least it was in focus. This one we just watched is like F. Bad acting, bad story, was not set up well. The guy got killed, so I guess the payoff's okay. But no, I'm giving him an F. I don't even think that they tried that hard. It was just, if you come to me as I'm your instructor in Cryptid 101 and you bring me that film, I'm just like, dude, where did the rake come from? How did you not see it in your backyard? Shouldn't he be coming around the corner or jumping off the roof or something? I'm just F. I'm sending him home saying you're wasting your parents' money. That's what I'm doing. Okay. Now, this, I think, maybe we've seen one of these before, but not the whole video. And that's why I'm showing it. Because there's a little bit more to it that you just may not believe. So we've all seen this shot, right, of Nessie allegedly jumping out of the water. But there's more to it than just this. Blurry, shaky, blurry photo. Come on, there it is. That's clearly fake. But there's more. As I continue, here we go. Watch this. Okay, come on, you guys, quit talking and start. Here we go. Look at that. That's pretty good. Although the face of the thing looks like it's on from a Disney movie. So they're trying to convince us they're out swimming in the Loch Ness Monster, and but you got to admit, that's pretty good. I mean, I'm just not buying the face. Look at how he's smiling. He's just like, it's the friendly dinosaur. You know, I don't know about that, but they could have done a better job on the face. But, you know, I don't know. I think that looks pretty good. So the face blows it. So they're going to get a B in my class, though, for effort on this one. I don't know these guys catching a giant catfish, but I mean, this shot right here isn't too bad. I just think the creature design needs a little work. I think it looks better here, except the Walt Disney face is not cutting it for me. Paul Taylor, no, that's a good point. He says, I want to give it, Paul Taylor says, I'd give that an A for creating such a detailed environment. That's true. There's a lot of work went into that. And I guess you got to, don't blow it with the Disney head, man. Give me something that looks a little more realistic. Okay, that's pretty funny. It's a Crater Lake monster. Now, Eric, of course, you're referring to Crater Lake, Oregon, which is the deepest lake, like, is it like one of the deepest lakes in like North America or something like that. But it's basically the volcano that got filled with water ages ago or whatever. There's no fish in it, though. Well, that's what they want us to believe. I just don't think the happy Disney face kind of lost it for me. But I did like the underwater effects. So that was good. Although I find it hard to believe that you'd have two Loch Ness monsters swimming behind you and you'd be looking at the camera. You'd probably be going, whoa. But, you know, performance, it's kind of like some of these people, they're good with the CGI, but they're not good with the acting. Or maybe they're good with the acting, but they're not good with the rest of it. Or maybe they can't tell the story. So what you need to do is these need to be group projects, you know, with guys. So everybody is doing their specific thing that they're really good at. All right. I don't even remember what this is. It says Loch Ness with a question mark on it. So, I know what this is. This is the shortest video in the history of short videos. So don't blink. That's it. So this is in the United States someplace. I can't remember what lake. If it's was it Lake Champlain or maybe. Okay, so here's what we're seeing. I think this is kind of interesting. The problem is, of course, super out of focus. And two, if you're seeing this now, the volume's down on this, but these guys are like, screaming like their life's in danger or something. I'm like, dude, if you're on the shore and you see this in the water, you're not going to turn the camera and run. You're going to keep filming this, right? So why is it like 2 seconds long? I mean, you see this and then you turn away. Why would you do that? You wouldn't. So just on that alone, I'm calling fakery, but it still looks pretty cool for a very short period of time. You know, it's ambiguous, and yet it really feels like there's something there that's bigger than we would anticipate being there. It's clearly not a fish. It's a giant serpentine creature. But, come on. You got to give me more than 2 seconds. Yeah, actually, it's probably 1 second. Let me watch the timer there. That's about 1.5 seconds worth of film. Paul Taylor, I think, has got it figured out. Stunning and brave. Spaceman, almost as if it were staged to see it right when you point the camera. Exactly. F for quality. I'm saying you guys were onto something there and you just totally blew it. Why am I getting more? I want more, and they're not giving us more. Spaceman says, saw The Legend of Boggy Creek when I was a kid and loved it. Yeah, that was actually pretty good. Decent tryout for a CGI job. I assume you're talking about the previous video we watched. Skull Gnasher kind of looks like a whale. Well, it could be, but then but again, why would you zip away from it so quick unless you were purposely trying to mislead us so we couldn't see that it actually was a whale? They tried to do the Blair Witch, but failed. I've watched the Blair Witch and I was underwhelmed with it. I thought the ending was when they were in the house. That was pretty creepy. But the rest of it, not really. And then there was a movie, Open Water. It was supposed to be the same type of thing, but they got, they were out scuba diving and their ship left them allegedly, based on a true story. And sharks came and ate them. I found nothing compelling about that movie, and it was getting rave reviews. And I was just like, that was boring, and I didn't find it was scary at all. That's just me, I'm a cynical, hard grader. You guys know that. Come into my class and get easy A's, that's for sure. So there you go. Anti-Entities with me. That first Blair Witch sucked. I thought I was not impressed with it, but they made money. And that's all that matters. Matt Relax says, I liked Open Water more. I guess more than me or more than Blair Witch. Citizen Ronan, Blair Witch was crap. Yeah, it was my favorite programming when I was a kid. Chariots of the God, Loch Ness, Bigfoot, In Search of with Leonard Nimoy. Anyway, yeah, I went to film school, Aaron. When you find out how they make the sausage, as they say, you become much more critical, and it's harder to enjoy. My son worked at Legacy Special Effects for 6 months. And he watches movies, and it's like when blood is gushing, you're like, oh yeah, they got this guy pumping stuff back there, and it just kind of ruins the whole thing now. But anyway, Santiago says, Open Water, man, my wife refused to go to sea with me for years. Well, I refused to go to sea ever. I think I was on a Disney cruise once. But there's a lot of big things out in the water that could potentially eat you. I'm okay with, fishing, trout, catfish, that kind of thing. I like getting out there where you can't really see any land. It makes me a little nervous. Okay. Well, folks, there you got it. We've gone past the 2-hour mark. I know probably for a fact that Ethan is probably streaming against me and probably has been for most of the show. So please hit the like and subscribe if you haven't done that already. Please take a moment and check out the Kit Carter campaign if you have not done that. If you have, on both those points, thank you guys very much. I really appreciate the support. And I guess we'll have Kings on Monday night, Bros on Tuesday night, and then, of course, Graybeard Studio on Wednesday night, where we will have, or Wednesday afternoon, we will have as a special guest Dan Fragaboom. So I'm looking forward to that. So thank you guys all. I want to make sure real quickly, I don't think I missed any super chats. Kind of get in trouble for doing that every once in a while. Okay. So enjoy the rest of your evening. Be safe out there. Have fun, but not too much fun. And we'll see you right here next time on Aaron Live. Good night, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.